Thank you, David Reed. And the choir has certainly grown under the direction of Rachel Holder and Lori Dockin, and we appreciate it so much. We appreciate you. And so I know how it's a volunteer choir. And I know how hard they work each and every Thursday night. So thank you again. Thank you for that. Okay, those of you that are new to us today or haven't been here in a while, we're right in the middle of a series called Discover the Power Within. It's by Eric Butterworth. Eric Butterworth is a well-known classic Unity author, probably the best that we've got. And so we have started this series, and today I am going to talk about what Mr. Butterworth feels is Jesus' formula for healing. Jesus' formula for healing. And this truth that Jesus taught has nothing to do with magic. It has everything to do with awakening. Jesus says, "Is it not written in your law, ye are gods?" Jesus said that, John 10:34. And of course, he's quoting the psalmist from 82 verse 6. He didn't say, "Ye are gods," to shock us. He said it to remind us who we truly are. You and I are spiritual beings, and we are having a human experience in this human form. We are not human beings trying to become spiritual. The divinity within us is not something to earn or acquire. The divinity within us is already established by God. So healing then is not about trying to get God to do something for us. It's about awakening to what God has already done for us. When Jesus healed, he didn't manipulate outer conditions. He lifted his consciousness to a new level of truth, and the outer world conformed. Let's begin with a distinction that can bring peace, I believe, to many hearts. There's a difference between a cure and a healing. A cure is a change in the outer conditions. The tumor disappears, the pain subsides, the blood pressure normalizes. Healing is something different, healing is something deeper. Healing is about a change in consciousness. It is the remembrance of our awareness of wholeness. Our remembering that we are already one with all that is, and that we are one with God. When the consciousness is healed, then the body often follows. But not always in the way we expect it or the way we want it. Some people are cured, but never healed. They change the outer conditions, but they still live in fear, lack of faith, anger, and others are healed. They are completely at peace. They are healed and at peace even when the body is in the process of dying. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, experienced her healing when she declared, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit illness." This wasn't denial. It was the truth spoken from a spiritual realization. Her body simply caught up with the consciousness, her new consciousness that she had claimed. Often miracles in our Bible, I believe, can become stumbling blocks to us. We read the stories, the blind see, the lame walk, the dead are raised, and we think, that was then. I can't do that. But Jesus, our teacher and way shower, was very clear. He said, these things I do, you shall do also, and greater things than this. Charles Fillmore once said that a miracle is not a violation of natural law. He says, it is the operation of higher law that we do not yet fully understand. And when we put Jesus on a pedestal, we turn his demonstrations into exceptions rather than examples of the things that we too can do. So miracles can become stumbling blocks only when we think that they are impossible for us. But Jesus' message was always the same. It's possible for you because you are one with God and one with all that is. So Jesus also taught, judge not according to appearances, but judge with righteous judgment. John 7:24. Friends, that is the cornerstone, I believe, of Jesus' formula for healing. To judge by appearances means that we take the report of the senses of the whole truth. The body says, I'm ill. The world says there's lack. The news says there's division. But righteous judgment sees with spiritual eyes. It looks beyond the surface of the eternal reality of wholeness. And every time we affirm truth in the face of appearance, every time we say, God is my life, God is my health, God is my peace, we are practicing righteous judgment. So let's turn to another story. It's found in John chapter 5. The man lying at the pool of Bethesda. For 38 years, he has been waiting, believing he needed someone to carry him into the water when it stirred. The belief was that when the water stirred, if you could get in the pool first, you would be healed. So he's been waiting there for 38 years. Jesus comes along and he asks a piercing question. Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made whole? It seems obvious, doesn't it? But Jesus knew something profound. That healing begins with willingness. Many of us sit beside our own pool. Waiting, and waiting for the right conditions, the right and perfect doctor, the right prayer by the minister, the right person to help us. We may be saying the words of faith, but inside we are still waiting for something outside of ourselves to make us whole. Jesus didn't help the man into the water. He told him to rise, take up your bed, and walk. He invited him to awaken his own inner authority. Healing always begins with choice. That choice is to stop waiting and start claiming wholeness. And then what about the woman? Another beautiful story. The woman with the issue of blood. It's covered in Mark 5. She had suffered for 12 years, pushing through the crowd, determined to touch the hem of Jesus' garment. She had this issue of blood. She was an outcast, a social outcast. And she says within herself, if I may touch his garment, I shall be whole. This, my dear friends, is the voice of unwavering faith. It's the moment she connects the invisible realm of spirit with a visible world of form. And when she touches his robe, Jesus feels power to go out from him and says, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole." Notice carefully. He didn't say, "My power healed you." He said, "Your faith has made you whole." And what happened? Her consciousness aligned with that divine pattern of life and healing flowed. Faith is not believing for something. It is knowing from something, knowing from the awareness of oneness. Faith is a bridge between two worlds. Faith is that bridge between spirit and matter, heaven and earth. And then what about the man with a withered hand? Jesus says, "Stretch forth your hand." He doesn't say, "Wait until I fix it." He calls the man to act as if the healing was already occurred. And as the man stretches, as he stretches beyond limitation, his hand is restored. This is covered in 3 of the Gospels. Every healing that we experience calls us to stretch, to reach beyond the story that we've been telling ourselves, to reach beyond fear, to reach beyond the past, and to begin to act from wholeness that is already there. Sometimes the stretch is physical, but more than likely it's spiritual. It means a stretching of our faith, a stretching of our perception. It means a stretching of our trust in affirming divine order. Jesus lived fully between two worlds. He lived fully human, thank you, God, and he lived fully divine. He lived a bridge between heaven and earth. And I believe that that is what we are called to do as truth students. And that is to live between two worlds, the spiritual and the physical, not in succession, but concurrently. We are spirit expressing form, not one of the other, but we are both. We are form and we are spirit all at once. And when we live only in the outer world, we become lost in appearances. And when we deny the outer world, we become ungrounded, we become detached. So the invitation, I believe, as spiritual and human beings is to walk both worlds consciously, being consciously present, to bring heaven to earth through present awareness. And as we see with spiritual eyes, our words, our choices, and even our bodies begin to reflect that inner reality. The body may express pain, but the soul knows peace. The world may tremble, but the Christ within stands still and sure. Healings happen when these two worlds, spirit and matter, are recognized as one and one continuum of life. So I believe that if we would put Jesus' formula together through the scriptures, this would be somewhat of the formula. 1, recognize your divinity. Ye are God's. Recognize that divine presence that lives and moves and has its being within you. Secondly, Refuse to judge by appearances. Judge by right judgment. We are called to see beyond the facts. And as we see beyond the facts, we know the truth. This morning in my reading, which often I will read Science of Mind magazine, and I read my daily word, and then I grab Science of Mind. Not that I'm promoting Science of Mind. We might have it in the bookstore, I'm not sure, okay? But I want to just really, the reading part of it was just perfect for this lesson for me. I am anchored in these eternal truths. Even in the apparent absence of wholeness, there is wholeness. Even in the apparent absence of solution, there is a solution. And even in the apparent absence of right action, there is right action. And even in the apparent absence of love, there is and always will be love. Refuse to judge by appearances only. And then be willing. Be willing. Do you want to be made whole? Ask, do I want to be healed? Well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? No, I'm not going there. Okay, do you want to be made whole? And then have faith. Remember the words of Jesus to the woman, your faith has made you whole. And then act from your wholeness. Stretch forth your hand. A program I'm familiar with says act as if you are whole, and know that you are whole in spirit. See, healing is not about convincing God to act. It's about awakening to what God has already done. Establish perfection at the center of your being. And when we awaken to the truth, healing flows naturally. So today, let us not wait by the pool too long. Let us rise in consciousness. Let us stretch forth our hand. Let us walk in faith. And let us live from truth that we are already whole, already divine, already healed in spirit. And as we live in that awareness, let us become channels of healing for others, not through words alone, but through action, through a raised consciousness. So I'm going to have a couple of affirmations I'd like for us to just sink into our being. Just a reminder, I'll affirm it once, and then I want us to do this together as a congregation, okay? I am whole in spirit. Together? I am whole in spirit. I see beyond appearances. Together. I see beyond appearances. The life of God renews me now. Together. The life of God renews me now. I am a living expression of divine perfection. Together. I am a living expression of divine perfection. How did that feel? So I have an assignment for you this week as you begin to practice the formula, I believe, that Jesus had for healing. Each morning, stand in front of your mirror, look into your eyes, and say aloud, the divine and I are one. I am whole, strong, and free. Regardless of what you're experiencing, regardless if there's a little extra weight, regardless of what, go claim wholeness for you because it is always present. Yeah. And when a challenge occurs during the day, whether it's a physical challenge, an emotional challenge, pause and remember, judge not according to appearances. I see with the eyes of spirit. Together, I see with the eyes of spirit. And every evening this week, I want you to take a moment and write down when you felt whole during the day? When did I feel that? I felt whole a couple of days ago when I looked up at a tree that Eddie and I had planted 15 years ago. And it was beautifully red, and the wind was blowing through it, and it was gorgeous and shivering, and I felt one with that tree and one with all that is. So I use that as an example because it doesn't have to be major things. When did you feel whole? Maybe it's when you were in yoga class. Maybe you felt whole during a laugh, a walk, a prayer, or even a breath. Collect those moments each evening. Write it down. Collect those moments of wholeness. And by the end of the week, you'll see how alive the healing presence truly is. For what you experience when you do that is that healing presence. I will end with this. Maybe. So I will end with this. Mr. Butterworth is one of his favorite quotes, and I use it often. God can do no more for you than God can do through you. Do you get that? God can do no more for you than God can do through you. God working through you to change your consciousness. And as we change our consciousness, the outer world changes. That's my responsibility. That's your responsibility. God, you guys, I don't know, you're looking at me like you're crazy, or you're looking at me like, yeah, we like that, okay. I love you, I bless you, I behold the living presence of the living.